In video games, occasionally a system will die and a series needs to find a new home, and it doesn't always make sense where they go. I am the Game Collector and this is Second Opinion Games, and today I show you 3 times where a sequel switches consoles in a kinda weird way.
Second Opinion Games.
Most people seem to know a lot about the series Crazy Taxi. It started in the arcades and then moved over to the Dreamcast. The original game was great in its own right. You just pick up people and drop them off at their destination, whether it be KFC or Pizza Hut, while listening to a little bit of Offspring. The first game also came out for the GameCube, and the second game came out exclusively for the Dreamcast. This time around, it added a little something new, like completely unlikable characters. Which, yeah, that's just what we needed. Characters that you can't relate to at all. It also has the ability to pick up more than one person, so you can pick up to 4 people and drop them off at 4 different destinations for some really big money. Also, your tips seem to skyrocket when you have 4 people in the car, so picking up the groups is always preferred. So the Dreamcast is now dead. So where should the series go? Well, imagine my surprise when I saw Crazy Taxi 3 High Roller on the original Xbox. It has bits and pieces from the very first game, including all 4 of its drivers. It also has a little bit from the second game, racing around New York with its 4 very unlikable drivers. And it has a new city where you could play as 4 more indifferent drivers. I don't really like them, and I don't really hate them, driving around a fictitious town similar to Las Vegas. What's new in this game? How about the ability to jump at will? And this comes in handy for lots of different shortcuts, but I never get too used to it. Power boosting and sliding around corners is easier than ever. Controlling your car is just great on this console, and the graphics look beautiful. There's also some headlight effects in driving at night, and the Crazy Box has been completely reworked. And trying to do the different missions with the jump is really a lot of fun. Honestly, I am so glad that it came to the original Xbox, taking advantage of the extra hardware power because the game looks and plays terrific. If you don't already have it, well, then this one is a must-own.
Go! Grand Slam!
See what to do.
On the TurboGrafx CD, the very best game, and one of my favorite games of all time, is Castlevania Rondo of Blood. It starts off with German with Japanese subtitles, giving the story about how they're planning on resurrecting Dracula once again, and you have to go back into the castle to save your girlfriend along with a couple of villager girls. And when you jump into the game, you'll notice that Castlevania has never looked and especially never sounded better before this game. The controls are absolutely perfect. You've never been able to jump on and off stairs like this in a Castlevania up to this point, and it feels beautiful. Richter also has a sweet backflip that he could do at will, which really comes in handy, and mastering it really goes a long way in beating this game. If you manage to save the first villager of the game by finding the right key and opening up the right door, well then Maria will become another playable character. And she is very important to this game because she's quite a bit more maneuverable than Richter. However, if she gets hit, she loses a ton of energy, so you have to be really careful with her. Luckily, one of her sub-weapons is the turtle shell, which becomes very helpful in destroying things very quickly and then hiding underneath the shell so you never get hit when playing with her. And it feels almost kind of cheap using this. She also has a double jump and the ability to tuck and roll or slide on her belly to make it through areas really, really quick. Honestly, no matter if you pick Richter and Maria, you're gonna have a great time with this game. The attention to detail here is amazing. Now, some people manage to point out that you could see enemies in the background before they show up for the main boss battle. But what I want to point out is the fact that Maria actually blinks. Yes, her eye is exactly 1 pixel in size, and you can still clearly make out that she blinks a couple times per minute. Yes, every little detail was painstakingly looked over in making this game. Pits are no longer one-hit kills. Instead, they just send you to other levels. There's branching paths, including branching bosses, and this is simply one of the best games ever made. And when it came to make a sequel, well, it switched to the PlayStation 1 of all consoles with Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Picking up at the very end of Rondo of Blood, you have to fight Dracula as Richter. And if he happens to kill you, well then even Maria herself shows up to say a little prayer and give you a little bit more extra energy to push you over the finish line. This was amazing when I saw it because I absolutely love Maria, and seeing her return is amazing. Now, when you play it on the PlayStation 1, after you beat the game, you can unlock a new mode playing through the whole game as Richter. But Maria sadly takes a sideline. However, Castlevania Dracula Chronicles X for the PlayStation Portable also has a version of Symphony of the Night on it, where you could actually play as Maria in Symphony of the Night, and the castle is a little bit bigger. So honestly, given all the upgrades that are in Castlevania for the PSP, I recommend just playing that one. But I do think it's kind of weird that they even reused sprites from Rondo of Blood in Symphony of the Night, and some of the music seems to be ripped directly from it. Our last game here is Iron Soldier. It's a first-person shooter and an Atari Jaguar classic, piloting a 44-foot-tall, slow-moving mech weapon of death. You will customize your giant robot pretty much any way you want, assuming you unlock the weapons to do so. Your gun is pretty useful here, but the railgun is even better. Picking up a Gatling gun makes short work of your enemies, and even a giant chainsaw will have you cutting through buildings with absolute ease. Iron Soldier 2 came out on the Atari Jaguar CD, however, a few cards was also made for the original console, and everything was upgraded here, graphic-wise. The controls feel great as well, and the textures are done a little bit better. However, the AI seems to be a little bit lacking. Some of these walkers just run away from me and don't seem to attack me at all, while other vehicles like tanks and gunships just come straight at me and don't seem to think whatsoever, so mowing them down is easy. One of the things I don't like about this game is the respawn rate of enemies. In the first Iron Soldier game, well, enemies did respawn, but they always did it just out of your sight. In the second one, they seem to just pop in right in front of you and continuously respawn, so you're encouraged to almost run away from them or manage to destroy everything as fast as possible to complete your mission, rather than taking the time to wipe the enemies off the map. Overall, this isn't a bad game, it's just a little bit different. I also like the added weapons here, whether you have the pump-action shotgun or the homing missiles that really come in handy. So, after the Atari Jaguar died, what system did it show up on? Well, also the PlayStation 1. And the new one, but no one seems to even have one of those consoles, so let's just focus in on the PlayStation version. As you can see, the graphics here have been tremendously overhauled, but the controls are what really confuses me. Luckily, you could customize your controller to be the exact way you want to play the game. However, it does not take advantage of the 2 analog sticks, as this game came out before that controller existed. So if you think you're going to play it like a traditional first-person shooter, well then you have another thing coming. The world is no longer flat this time around, and the environments also change as well. It could be raining or it could be snowing, and you never really know what you're going to go into until you do. Enemies still respawn at an alarming rate, so you are still encouraged to make it through levels faster. And given this, you have the ability to pick different types of mechs. Some of them can move really quick, or your standard one can even be upgraded with a jetpack that allows him to fly through the level really quick. However, this can run out of fuel, and then you're just stuck walking around. Your guns feel stronger than ever, except for the railgun, which feels like it was dumbed down heavily. Also, there's co-op, so playing through this game split screen is probably the best way to play it. But if you want to take the time with it, there's a story mode. However, the story seems inconsequential, so you can just play arcade mode, and then you could pick from all the weapons from the very start, instead of unlocking them slowly. And given that the story is so worthless, why did they even say this is Iron Soldier 3 when they released it for the PlayStation? In my opinion, they just should have called it Iron Soldier so people didn't feel like they missed out on the first two games, and it's probably why it didn't sell very well, because honestly, this is an incredible game and truly a hidden gem on the PlayStation 1. Honestly, all of these games are terrific that I talked about today, and I think you should pick up all of them. But that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. I had a great time making it, and if you wanted to buy any of these games, because some people ask me about that, I put links at the very bottom, so make sure you pick them up, especially Iron Soldier 3 for the PlayStation 1. It is a really cheap game, and honestly, I think it's a lot of fun. So if you have any weird sequels that switch consoles that you want to tell me about, please let me know. Or if you want to let me know about any video games in general you want me to cover in the future, I cannot wait to hear from you, and I really encourage you guys to talk to me because, as always, I'm quite lonely and can't wait for human interaction. So until later, I will see you again, guys.